was a young lady there that was like maybe 20 or 21 years old. And she said, I'm just a huge Elvis fan. And, I just recently discovered who, him as in his music. And I'm just fascinated by him. And, I want these people to realize the man that he was. And yes, he accomplished all these amazing things. And he was an ordinary man, but he was touched by God to do extraordinary things. And he's still doing those things. And so I want them to know the truth about Elvis Presley, and who he was, and the type of person that he was, and that we all, learned about the Lord and learned about family values and being honest and truthful and having integrity and pride in who you are and what you do at our grandmother's knee, and Elvis and I both were extremely close to our grandmother, Minnie Mae. We were the only two that were allowed to sit on her bed. So we would tease her and play with her and, just enjoy family time together. And I would go in there, and there oftentimes, there's been times he would come in and it would just be he and I in grandma's room. And he would sit in the floor and in front of my chair, and we'd just talk. And he'd tell me, things about himself that, maybe he wouldn't tell a girlfriend or an ex-wife or a mafia, one of the mafia guys, Memphis Mafia, or friends. And that was the way he was with family. He was very protective and very loving and very caring about his family. And if you were in his life and he loved you, and he, even girls that he dated and even though they broke up, he still cared about what happened to them, wanted them to be happy. And, even though they weren't together or whatever, he still wanted them to have a great life. But that was the kind of man that he was.
Very, very spirited, very passionate, and like you said, very gifted and very talented, very loving in so many different ways and showing it in so many different ways. The fans still resonated with today. And like you said, so many new fans too that are discovering Elvis and even that genre of music. They're hearing it and they're thinking, wow, I like this stuff. This stuff's cool. This stuff, it's hip, it's modern, it's
timeless, yes.
timeless, and songs that are beautiful too, wonderful ballads, and just so much. And of course, his image and his persona, unique as well. There's so many people who have these unique voices, unique talents, and unique looks and personas, images. But what's great about what you're doing is you're letting people know that beyond the image, beyond celluloid and beyond the records and everything else, he was really a kind-hearted soul, cared about people, and loved the family. The family was very important. And of course, Lisa Marie, very important, and missed as well. And I know what happens is a lot of times there's so many books that are out there that are written from all these different perspectives on Elvis from that particular perspective. And, it must sometimes get a little overwhelming when you see all of that, right? To try to get it all straight.
It does, I could be busy from, here till forever. I'm trying to straighten out a lot of these things that have been said. But, I understand people are looking from their point of view. But, a lot of times in books and movies and that kind of thing, they're just looking for sensationalism or, what they think might sell, that kind of thing. But, I think that Elvis lived he was such an amazing man and such a wonderful entertainer and person that I think that if you just are honest about him and who he was and the way he lived his life and the way he treated people, I think that's probably sensational enough just to tell the truth. And you don't have to embellish or make something up to make it sell.
Exactly right, which happens quite often, more than anybody would like, and not everybody has somebody like you who's protective, who's also been there. I mean, you've been there, from the beginning. We've got a couple of photos that we sort of put together here, and tell us Tell us about this really fantastic one here.
Well, I was probably 11 years old, and that's my sister's Karen Sue. We called her Susie. That's standing on the other side, and we were out in the backyard at Graceland, and Elvis was out there. And I think it was the one time that my mother actually had a camera, because then we didn't carry cameras around with us every day. But we were all out in the backyard and just having family time, and so Mom said, Elvis, I want to get a picture with my girls. And he said, absolutely. So he grabbed each of us around the neck, and of course at that time, I was very, very shy. I know it's hard to believe now, but at one time I was very shy.
Shy and quiet, and
But yeah, I mean, it
sure.
was a great thing. But people ask me all the time, well, how come you don't have more photos with Elvis? And I said, we've got to realize that Elvis was the most photographed human in the world. Every time he walked out of Graceland, and this was at the wedding reception, right
Right.
after he and Priscilla got married, and they came back to Graceland, and all the family and friends came there. So that was at that time. But that's the only two photos that I can think of that are actually I had with Elvis.
With Elvis,
Yeah,
right.
because we respected his privacy. You don't want to
Yes.
around with it. And two, not only was the fact that we respected his privacy and didn't want to stick a camera in his face everywhere he went, he didn't want to be treated like a star in his own home. And he so we respected that. And also at that time, who carried a camera around? We certainly didn't. And we
Or
never even
could